All right. I show 3 o'clock, so that says go time to me. So I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us here today on our little webinar where we're going to talk about SURF and how our office can help you put together successful application and kind of explain all the steps of how you go about getting your submission together. If anybody has any questions, just throw them in the chat and we'll get to them either as we go or at the end. We'll leave plenty of time for everybody's questions, so that's not a problem. We're going to start off with a poll question. And it's basically just asking, who are you? Are you a student? Are you a faculty member? What level you are, just so we know who we're talking to today. And that'll help us know how we can best help you with know your experience kind of with school and with research, and to talk about those results and to talk a little bit about SURF and what it is. We're going to hand it off to Joy Ritchie, the director of our office, the Office of Research and Sponsor Programs.
Hey, thank you, Matthew. Let's see, I'm going to hit end poll and share results. So that's exciting. A full 25% are faculty members and almost half, 44%, I guess that's getting close to almost half, are juniors. So that sounds about right. And some sophomores and seniors. So good. It helps us to know who's in the room. I'm gonna stop sharing that now. There we go. Matthew, will you click through to the SURF slide? There we go. So I'm gonna just give a brief overview of SURF. The funder for SURF is the Arkansas Department of Higher Education. So this is state money that's open to college students throughout the state, and the purpose of it is to allow undergraduates to carry out in-depth research, scholarship, or creative projects in their field of study, and also to work closely with a faculty mentor during that process. And SURF awards can go for the course of 1, 2, or 3 semesters, and our team will talk a little bit more about what that looks like. And so SURF stands for Student Undergraduate Research Fellowship, and it is a really exciting opportunity for undergraduates in Arkansas to be able to get these, and UCA has a really good track record. So we're really happy all of you are here and hope that we're celebrating all your awards early in 2022. All disciplines are encouraged to apply, and so whether you're STEM or non-STEM, it's great that you're here. The website that is listed there that's part of our homepage. Matthew's going to click through to it. This is where we put all information SURF, and so we're going to cover a lot of this information today. We'll send this PDF out at the end. I will of the slides out at the end, and I'll also drop the link to this page in the chat in case you want to click through to it, but it has everything that you will want to know about SURF. We are also, of course, happy to help you. You can pick up the phone, send us an email, and you'll get all of our contact information at the end. But there are a lot of great details about SURF on this website, so I encourage you to make good use of that. And I'm going to kick it back to Matthew.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to have some application insights by Sarah Bailey, we did our poll. There we go. Sarah Bailey, our proposal development specialist.
Great, thank you, Matthew. Well, I have some application insights for you today. And the first thing that I want to start off with, and this is something that Joy has already sort of touched on, is the focus of the SURF grants. Okay? No matter what grant you're looking at, you need to make sure that you keep their whole purpose and their mission in mind. So the focus of the SURF grants is the continued development of undergraduate academic research at Arkansas's public and private institutions of higher ed, and to provide funding to encourage students to conduct in-depth research projects in specific fields of study under the tutelage of tenure or full-time faculty members. And it's designed to assist all students throughout the state. So as you're preparing your proposal, keep that in mind and make sure that you think about what their focus is, what's important to them, and how you can push that through in your proposal. Now, one of the things that is important in regards to thinking about your project and what your objectives are is what are your SMART goals? You've probably heard of SMART goals before. The S is specific, M measurable, A assignable, R realistic, and T time bound. So these are some things that you're going to want to think about, and it will help you sort of organize your thoughts. You can create an outline from this even to really make sure that you touch on everything and make sure that everything is measurable. How will you know if you're successful, right? What things are you looking for? What do you hope to find out? Matthew, if you will go to the next. Okay, so you need to think about if the project will add value to your field of study. What's the potential to advance knowledge and understanding within its own field or across different fields? So that is from NSF, what they call intellectual merit. And so that's specific verbiage from NSF, but it is important to think about that no matter what kind of grant you're putting together. What is the project's potential to benefit society or advance desired societal outcomes? That is what NSF refers to as broader impacts. And that is important to think about when you're putting your proposal together as well. Is the project sufficiently difficult? Okay, a funder is not going to want to fund something that is a cakewalk, right? They want to see you dig in and take on a challenge and make it a worthwhile project that's really going to advance the knowledge and really benefit others. Will the project teach you skills that are transferable to other research endeavors or scholarly activities, right? How is this going to carry forward? Funders don't like to see a one and done. So even if your project is a one and done, you can make it, you can frame it as to, hey, this will carry on and benefit me in the future, and this is how. So while the project might be one and done, the results are not. The results carry forward. Is the student, you, from a group underrepresented in the study? That can be race, gender, disability, socioeconomic status. They do look at justifiable reasons to consider candidates from groups such as this. So these are things to think about, and I am available and happy to help look at your proposals, give you feedback, make suggestions, ask questions if something isn't clear. I like to try to put myself in the position of the reviewer. So hopefully having someone like me who is outside of this discipline, your discipline perhaps, will be helpful. And I'm just happy to help any way I can. So if you want me to take a look at something, please let me know. I'm going to hand it back to you, Matthew.
Matthew, you are muted.
That's embarrassing. Okay. Here we are going to go through the review process from some notes and some slides from one of our faculty reviewers that actually works on reviewing these proposals. And she sent us along this information to share with everybody. And basically the amount of money every year can vary just depending on what the state allocation is. But it's usually anywhere from about 100,000 to 115,000, just depending on the budget. And they split that up as best they can. They usually have around 200 applications, so not everybody will get funded. That's how the grant world works, sadly. But UCA usually has a pretty good track record of about 50% of people that get funded, which is a good thing in the grant world. That doesn't happen a lot of times. So you have a really good chance. You put together a good proposal and you'll get some funding. So what the panel looks for is several things besides the actual project. They look at the students' performance and accomplishments. They look at your class schedule, your transcripts. They try to make sure you're like a well-rounded student and that you're like contributing to multiple things outside of like your discipline. And they want to make sure you're taking the right courses in school towards your degree. And then that will help you in the long run benefit your research because you have all these multiple viewpoints. Another thing they look at is your letters of support. Those letters are actually really important, and especially the mentor letter. And they make sure that the mentor actually knows you, and it's not just a blank like form letter. They want to see that the mentor actually works with you, knows how you work, knows your research, and then make sure you're a good fit for the project. They also, as part of the scoring rubric, give points to the mentor, and they make sure the mentor actually has experience working with students, working in the discipline of whatever department you're working in, just to make sure that'll help your project. But if you do have a mentor that's brand new to all of it, they also take that into consideration because they want to bring new people into the field and help research grow. So parts of the project they score on is the feasibility to make sure it's actually possible and not you're just not proposing something like totally out there that's not possible. The significance, that make sure it actually contributes something to the field. The appropriateness of the methodology. That they're making sure that you're asking the right questions as part of the research and make sure you're doing the right steps to make sure you can get to the proper answers. Let's see, the scientific merit and the plans for dissemination, how you're going to actually put forth your proposal, the steps you're going to take, and be able to accomplish the goal and get to the research data you want and that you proposed. Your budget to make sure you lay out everything and have all your budget lines in there, and you're not asking for crazy things because they do look for that. And then just the clarity of your writing and make sure it's original writing and not just kind of cut and pasting from like your mentor's overall research project on the things they work on. All right, poll question number 2. Have you applied for a SURF award in the past? Some people apply multiple years and get funded multiple years. Some people won't get funded one year, but get funded the next. So we're always asking people to apply. Even if they've been funded before, you can continue your research and get more funding.
We've got one person who hasn't participated. There we go.
All right. All right, we've got 3 that have applied before. That's good. And everybody else is newbies. That's good too. That's why we're here, and we will help you. It doesn't matter what kind of crazy, weird questions you have. We've heard it before, I promise. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Suzanne Wilchin, the other grant administrator in our office, and she's going to go over kind of the actual proposal process.
Okay, thanks, Matthew. Great. I'm going to talk about eligibility, our internal registration process, the application checklist, and how the award is budgeted. I will point out that SURF is really a wonderful opportunity to become familiar with the grant process. Working through the proposal preparation and submission process is very transferable to any number of applications after graduation. So definitely take some pride in getting an application submitted, regardless of the funding outcome. One of the great things about the SURF program is that it provides funding for all majors and all academic expressions of research, scholarship, and creative endeavor. Our submission rate at UCA has ranged in the last several years from 5 applications to 23 applications. Our award rate has varied over the years, but historically it's been just about 50%. So you have a good chance of getting funded. SURF also allows for multiple awards over the course of your undergraduate career. So a long-term project could receive up to 3 years of funding. And that is something that reviewers have said is attractive to them. So that's something, if you're earlier in your academic career, something to keep in mind. In terms of applicant eligibility, here are some guidelines to keep in mind. They're looking for a GPA of 3.25 or higher, full-time enrollment, which is 12 or more credit hours, 30 or more college credit hours by January 1st of the funded year. So as of January 1st, 2022, you'll need a faculty mentor. You must be a US citizen or a resident alien, and you must be enrolled in an associate's or bachelor's degree program. Matthew, could you get the next slide? Thanks. The next step is we ask you to register to submit an application. This is just a Google form, and it's strictly internal for our office to help manage our workflow. And it also gives us some good contact information in case we need to reach you or your mentor. We will send you this slide deck. You can click on that red button right to the registration form, or you can find it on the link on that form on our website. If you could please complete the registration form by the beginning of October, that helps us get our office organized for your submissions. We accept late registrations on a case-by-case basis. So faculty members, if you have a student who comes to you in October, feel free to send them our way. Have them register and get in touch with us. We'll explain what we need to compile the proposal, and they can kind of decide from there if they want to do that work in that short of time. Let's see. So documents. These are the documents you'll need to include in your application package. And let me just preface this by saying there are a lot of parts to this particular opportunity. And we've tried to help by providing lots of checklists and links to documents on our webpage. But in general, this is kind of an overview. There are 4 forms to be completed: a cover page, a form for you, and a form for your mentor. The cover page should only have your mentor's signature on it when you turn it into our office in mid-October. Our office will take care of getting the provost's signature for you once the entire proposal has been assembled. You'll need your most recent transcript and your current class schedule. Please order an official transcript from the registrar's office. If you request a hard copy, just bring the sealed envelope to our office. Your class schedule can be a printout or emailed to me or to Matthew as a PDF from your student account. On this list for numbers 6 through 8, these are parts of your proposal narrative. And this is where Sarah's expertise can really help your proposal shine. If you think you would like to have her support, please be sure to get in touch with her earlier rather than later so that she can add you to her calendar. Number 9 and 10, the budget and budget justification, are completed with the help of the ORSP office, which means that you'll work closely with either me or with Matthew to make sure that your numbers and forms are accurate. You'll need 3 letters of recommendation, 1 from your mentor and 2 other letters from people who are not your mentor. Our recommendation is that you request these letters early and give your writers a deadline. These letters may come to you or to our office. They may be in hard copy or electronic form. Ideally, they are on letterhead and signed, but it's not the end of the world if they come in another format. So next, I'll talk a little bit more about the budget breakdown and the financial aid implications. The award amount is broken down into specific categories. The student stipend is $2,500, student travel allowance of $750, and a mentor award of $750. And that's a total SURF award of $4,000. And that $4,000 award is for projects that are 2 or 3 semesters. So a spring and fall, or a spring, summer, fall. There's also a spring only option, which has a $1,250 stipend for a total award of $2,750. Let's see, the student stipend is unrestricted. It is split between ADHE funds and UCA funds. Unrestricted means you can spend it however you would like or however you need to support your project. Student travel is restricted to student travel, and the mentor award can be used as either salary, supplies, or travel. Faculty members, if you elect to use this mentor award for salary, there will also be fringe calculated out of that as well. So just be aware how that will break down. And you'll see on our budget templates, we have 4 budget templates to choose from depending on your period of performance or what dates you'll be working on your project. It really breaks everything down so you can kind of see how it will come out. Finally, the financial aid considerations. The state of Arkansas has scholarship stacking limits. So if you are receiving state aid that pays your full tuition, it might be a good idea to check in with financial aid about your SURF application and just kind of see where you are, how much room you have. Just because you've reached the stacking limit doesn't mean you are ineligible for an award. It just means that the funds will be allocated a little bit differently. If you find out that is your situation and you've been awarded, you can work with our office and we'll work with grant accounting and financial aid to kind of get everything in the right place so you can have as much support for your project as possible. And so, Matthew, I'm going to send this back to you for dates and deadlines.
All right, great. So here are the deadlines. They're almost all in October, which is just almost here, crazy enough. The first deadline will be October 1st, and that is the date to register, as Suzanne talked about, just so we have your contact information, your department, we kind of know what you're working on, who your mentor is, all that, and then if we need to contact you, we have all that information. The next deadline is October 13th, and that is for if you want Sarah to review your proposal, and that is an optional deadline. We highly, highly encourage it, but it is not something that will stop you from being able to submit. Next, October 19th is the deadline that we will need all of your information in our office and all your documents because there's several steps that we have to do on the back end, making copies, getting signatures, making sure everything's put together, make sure you haven't skipped over anything and everything's complete. So then before November 1st, we will submit it on your behalf to ADHE. So that gives us a couple of weeks to make sure we have everything together. And if we got to come back to you to get something adjusted, there's plenty of time to do that. The December 1st deadline is for those who are going to be working with human subjects, animal subjects, anything like that. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then notification dates of who has been funded and not funded changes every year. That comes from ADHE, that's not us. So you can ask us and we will tell you that we will know, you will know when we know. It just changes. Sometimes it's before Christmas, sometimes it's like first or second week of January. We really have no control of that, but we promise everyone will know. Either way, funded or not funded. All right, next we're going to hand it to Kimberly Ashley Polly, and she's going to talk about compliance.
Thank you, Matthew. So as Matthew stated, if you are doing any kind of research that is going to involve human or animal subjects, we need your application by December 1st for us to have time to be able to get that looked at and get it approved. So if you're doing anything with human subjects, typically an application, whether it's expedited or exempt, has a time frame on it. Exempt applications usually take about anywhere from 1 to 3 days, depending on how many applications I have in the queue. An expedited application actually goes to a reviewer and can take up to 2 weeks to be reviewed. And then a full application would go to our full board, and we only meet once a month. So with the December 1st deadline, that gives us time to be able to process any one of those 3 applications in a timely manner for you to be able to start your research on January 1 and not have that part held up. Because that could hold up your research if you don't have the compliance in place. So as I said, there's 3 types of research. There's the exempt, the expedited, and the full. Exempt, and the type of application will depend on the level of risk that is involved with your research project. So what we're looking at is minimal risk. What is minimal risk? Minimal risk means that the probability and the magnitude of harm or discomfort anticipated in the research are not greater in and of themselves than those ordinarily encountered in daily life or during the performance of routine physical or psychological examinations or tests. So with that being said, when we mean minimal risk, say you are a student that is in occupational therapy or nursing, and you wanted to do a research study that involved some type of physical exercise that would have your participants do something that they normally wouldn't do in their everyday life. So you may be having them walk on a bar, or it's a balance type of research where you're having them do something that involves balance and they could fall. So those types of research would require an expedited type of application because they have more than minimal risk. Something that is a very less than minimal risk would be something like a pre and post test. You're checking, you're asking them questions, you're going to do the research, and then you're going to come back, and then you're going to do a post test after you've done after you've conducted your research. So that would be an exempt type of application. An example of a full application would be something that involves children, a vulnerable population, a lower IQ, where you're dealing with things that could possibly cause mental harm, meaning in psychological examinations, you may be asking some type of questions that could cause mental distress. So then those could be expedited or full, depending on the population that you're using. So those are just some examples. In regards to if you're not sure on what type of application, if you contact me, I will be more than happy to either discuss it with you. You can call me, email me, we can Zoom. I have lots of students that will fill out the application, we'll go through it during Zoom, and we'll go through the whole application. So I am here to help you with figuring all of that out. And I think there might have been a question on IACUC. Yes, many animals are not vertebrates. Do projects on insects and other non-vertebrae require IACUC review? If it does not have a spine, typically it doesn't go through IACUC, but observational types of research with animals do go through IACUC. So say you are going to be looking at fish. We have a couple of professors here on campus that they actually go out into the field and they look at different types of fish and how they swim up and down stream. They'll collect them. Those would require because they do have a spine, so they would require eye cook, even though they're not maybe physically handling them, but they are observing them. They are going to be manipulating their environment. Anytime you're manipulating something's environment, then it does require eye cook approval. If you're not sure, call me, we can discuss it. A lot of the time, just picking up the phone and calling me and us just discussing it clears up a lot of misunderstandings. So if it has a spine, yes, it does. So I will turn it back over to Matthew.
Great, thank you. If there's any more questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. So next, we're going to talk about post-award and what happens if you do get funded, and how our office helps with that, and how we help you monitor your money and do all your reports and all that. And that is done by Saveda Karakaya.
Thank you, Matthew. So I do have the faculty after they receive an award. So what I do is usually I provide guidance to the PIs. Usually surf grants are very straightforward. They have only a few lines: travel, salary for the PI, and the stipend for the student. So sometimes I would help the PIs for submitting their PAFs. I also process no-cost extensions. So if you cannot finish the project on time, you might ask a permission to extend the grant end date. And so far, all of the extension requests have been granted, so they are fine with that. But SURF doesn't allow to move money between the lines. Let's say there were like issues, so you couldn't travel, you cannot move your travel money to the salary line. So they don't allow like any budget transfers between line items. So after you receive the award, Sandy, Susan, or Matthew will send the award release, and then grant accounting will set up your award in the system, and they're gonna give you an index number. And after that, you will work with me to submit the paperwork and everything to make sure everything goes smoothly. I also send out monthly budget reports to the PIs, so that you're gonna receive emails from me with your budget numbers. And if there's any paperwork needed, I'm gonna send a reminder about those. And finally, any financial reporting, if required, is done by the grant accounting. So overall, that's all like what you would expect in the post-award work if you receive the fund.
Great, thank you. Let's see, questions. All right, I think something just popped up here, so let's look. Says if two students have the same mentor and both want to apply for separate SURF grants, should both students apply? That is kind of a trick question. Generally, we've been told by ADHE that generally they want, one mentor, one student pair working, but we have had mentors with two different students and two different projects get funded before. So the answer is sort of. So there's not really a straightforward answer, but if that's the only option, we would rather have more applications come through than someone be left out and not do it. So if there's only one mentor available, then yeah, definitely go for it. Any more questions?
Hey, I'll say real quickly, if anyone has a question that they maybe don't want to put in the chat so that they can ask it sort of anonymously, I think if you put it in the Q&A, I might only we can see it. Everyone attending can't see it. So if you have a question that you don't feel confident about, you're welcome to do that. Or if you have a question that it's just easier to speak out loud, I can definitely give you permission to talk in the webinar so that you can just literally ask us a question.
let's see. Here, let's go. Let's see what's next. Here we go. Here's our contact information. So if you sleep on it tonight and you dream something about this crazy awesome project you want to do, and you're like, oh dang, I wish I would have answered or asked that question, like totally give us a call or email. We're here. That's what we do, especially the first couple of weeks of October. It's always surf stuff. So like we're ready, and we can help anybody figure it out, because really the more applications we get, the better UCA looks as a whole. So we definitely want everybody to get their submissions in.
Hey, Matthew, would you
Mhm.
give our attendees some guidance about who to contact? This is like a lot of information. So they would contact you and Suzanne for what, and Kim
Yeah,
for what,
me and
just to remind
Suzanne
everyone.
are the main two. We're the grant administrators, and we're the main contacts that process all the surf stuff. So really either one of us, and then if we can't answer it, if it's like a more of a financial question or IRB question, we'll make sure you get to the right person. But yeah, definitely me or Suzanne would be the first step.
We have a question in the Q&A.
Yeah, here we go. Is it a good idea to apply if you are currently working on a research project? So the person who asked this question, I think what they're asking is, can you apply for research that's already in process, or does it need to be a completely new thing? Is that, I hope that I'm reading it correctly.
I'll jump in. I think yes, if you can pull out a piece of the,
Suzanne, maybe, could you get a little closer to your microphone? You're very soft,
oh,
hard to hear.
I'm moving closer on the long desk. How's that? That better? You're muted now. So yes, if you've got a kind of a piece of a larger project that you can pull out and make it its own project within whichever time frame best suits it, and I think there's a lot of flexibility within the SURF program. You can definitely do that. I think there are definitely mentors who have like long-term projects who are able to carve out pieces that fit into a 1 semester, 2 semester, 3 semester period of performance. So definitely.
And then there's a new question in the chat. What is the student's expected time commitment over the spring, summer, and fall semesters? And I do not know the answer to that, so I'm gonna let someone else help with that.
There's no like required amount of time, but you have to devote a certain amount of time. I think that comes across in your proposal. The reviewers will be able to tell them like, oh, they can do this in an afternoon. That might not be the most successful proposal. So it's got to be enough work to keep you busy, but we're not going to say you have to devote 500 hours to it or whatever. But you do get to pick if it's going to be 2 semesters or 1 semester in a summer or 2 semesters in a summer, just kind of depending on how much time you need really to successfully complete it. Is that it? Is there any more? Let's see. I do not see any more questions. Like I said, if something comes up, tomorrow or in a couple days, definitely reach out. We're here. If you are interested in getting started, go ahead and register. We'll send a follow-up email to everybody. Make sure you have the registration link, and we'll include the checklist too of all the documents. So if you are interested, definitely let us know. Oh, hold on. A good deadline to tell people we ask for letters of recommendation. I would start, especially if they're a off-campus person, I would start now. If you're sure you're gonna apply and get everything going, the earlier the better. Just so we can have it all, because there's the November 1st submission deadline for ADHE. That's a hard deadline. We can't, if it's not submitted by then, they won't accept it. So the earlier the better.
Matthew, I'm going to also jump in. Like, if you wanted to, like, when do you want the letter back to you? I would say kind of depending on your comfort level. Some people like to have things earlier than others. But maybe the 15th or the 18th of October, and that will give you time to get the document to our office on the 19th. But definitely start early.
All right. Well, if that is it, I just want to thank everybody for coming. Keep an eye out for the follow-up email. We'll send you those items that I mentioned. And just remember, we're here to help you. So if anything comes up, just let us know.
Thanks, everyone.